name is Nick Skriloff, and I'm the father of 3 sons. When they hit puberty, I knew God had set up a physical transformation marking their young adulthood. But I knew they also needed a mental and spiritual point in time when they were seen as young men, some rite of passage that would help define their God-given unique identity and destiny. So what did I do? So I read about 25 books on everything from money to the Bible, asking the question, if I were to die and pass away, what are the most important things a young man should know? I read grim statistics, like 70% of young people leave the church by age 22. You know, the daily life of raising boys sometimes proved more difficult than being a rocket scientist. I became more convinced of the importance of a rite of passage. But what would it look like? That's when I met my friend Tom, and him and I spent 2 years answering that question.
Hi, I'm Tom, co-founder of Heart of a Nation. At Heart of a Nation, we take the future of our boys very seriously. We believe there are 2 critical questions that every boy will ask himself at some point in his life. The first question he will ask is, what does it mean to be a man? The second question, and perhaps even more important, is, do I have what it takes to be a real man? The ramifications of not answering these questions that are central to a boy's identity, central to a man's identity, are severe. In fact, we see the damage from not answering these questions around us every day in our society as men walk around, but on the inside, they're still boys. I challenge the men watching this video to think back and ask yourself, when you were a boy, when you were growing up, at some point in your path, was there a time when you ever asked, what does it mean to be a man? How do I behave in order to become a real man, to be a real man? Do I have what it takes? Did those questions ever cross your mind? I know they did for me. They did for my partner, Nick, and that's why we founded Heart of a Nation, to help transition our boys from boyhood into manhood, to give them a leg up, to give them some help. We believe that's our responsibility as parents, and that's our responsibility as men in the church and men in our society. You know, throughout history and across the globe, we've seen examples of societies and cultures that have helped transition their boys into manhood. For example, the Spartans in Europe, tribes in Africa, the Native Americans here on this continent, just to name a few, all created elaborate and structured systems by which they transitioned their boys into young men. In fact, there was a clear demarcation where the boy left boyhood and then entered young adulthood. Their responsibilities at that point changed, their identity changed, and frequently even their name would change. What are we doing as a society to prepare our young men for manhood? What are we doing to help our boys transition to the new responsibilities that they will face as men, to handle the responsibilities that they'll face during their teenage years, during their young adult years, in the workplace? What is the message that our media is sending our boys? What are we teaching our boys about what it means to be a real man?